Hello, it's me, Johnny. I'm from England, and I'm the new host of the World Wonders podcast. I'm here with Amanda, and she's going to talk about how I transformed into this very prestigious Oxford type in less than 5 seconds.
I kicked Ryan off the show. He was getting annoying. Don't tell him, though.
Anyways, we're talking about Mardi Gras today.
Yeah.
And we're trying to offend our listeners in the UK at the same time. Maybe even the Australians. Yeah, mate.
All right, so my name's Amanda.
I'm Ryan.
And we're your hosts. And clearly by this intro, it's going to be an extra special episode of the World Wonders podcast. What are we up to today, Ray?
Well, I'm actually up to nothing. I'm not even featured in this episode.
Yes, that is true. So last week...
So for the guy who left the review on iTunes that said I sucked, well, it's your lucky day. Because I'm not in the episode. I'm not bitter about it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what to say that. So last week, I had 3 girlfriends from Canada come down to Atlanta, and we took a road trip over to New Orleans for the Mardi Gras festival.
So who were these people?
So my friends who are featured on this episode of the podcast, making their first podcast debut, are Jordana Dom, Justine Dom, and Nora Bealey. And they're actually 3 good old Saskatchewan girls. They grew up in Churchbridge, Saskatchewan. And I met Jordana and Nora at the University of Calgary. Nora has an engineering degree, so I didn't know her super well in university.
How does that relate?
I'm just trying to give the backstory for these lovely ladies that are.
You didn't know her because she has an engineering degree? What is that? Do you not?
Engineers kind of like only hang out with engineers, and they're super busy during their degree. And so I just didn't get the opportunity, or I didn't have the opportunity to get to know her super well. But Jordana and I were super good friends in university and have remained super close since then. And Justine is Jordana's sister. So the 3 of them made the plan to come down, and then it was sort of Jordana and I did a lot of the planning, kind of, I guess, instigated it, convinced the other 2 to come, and then they made their way down here. And
so on the final weekend of Mardi Gras, you ventured into the heart of Louisiana.
Yeah, so they came down on the Thursday, and we stayed in Atlanta for 2 days, and then we're going to begin the podcast on the Saturday with our road trip to Louisiana. So we have been driving since 10 a.m. It's now 3:47 p.m. So we've been on the road for a while, and we are currently in Mississippi. What have your impressions been of Mississippi thus far? Anyone?
Yeah, it looks beautiful outside. Temperature's gotten steadily warmer as we've gotten closer to New Orleans, which is nice. They like really tall signage coming out of their trees, but not in the trees, similar to the likes of Alabama.
Interesting.
Agricultural content much better in Mississippi than Alabama. We've been super impressed with the rest stops. We love the rest stops. They're really nice. That's a good point.
I also feel like we drove through a river, like not across it or along it, but like in it.
We call them Moses.
Did we part the Red Sea?
The river for miles. It was kind of interesting.
In the Pontiac.
I was a little kind of confused about what was happening at some point.
So what are you guys looking forward to the most for Mardi Gras?
For Mardi Gras in particular, I'm looking forward to bar hopping and meeting lots of interesting people and figuring out where they're from and why they're down there and getting to experience the culture.
I'm more excited about wearing colorful things.
Yes,
being
me
ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm excited to be part of the madness.
Changing the persona and just going for it.
Like you're going to be part of an event. Did you know that in Mardi Gras, in New Orleans, you can commission your own parade for $40. You can go to the town hall and you can get a license for parade, and you can commission your own parade and be like the parade master. And apparently buskers will just jump in, and then all of a sudden you've got like a full-fledged parade.
That
Like,
really
it's
makes me
thing.
think of like Austin Powers intro. Where you're just kind of like walking down the street.
Apparently my coworker's like, you need to commission your own parade. I was like, I think I'll pass, but like, good suggestion. Like, maybe next time.
So you weren't like big Rough Rider fans? Because that would be a sight to see. Like, just a crowd of people dressed in Rough Rider gear and watermelons.
I would leave you.
You would leave her?
Yes. I'm excited for this, like, to do the psychic stuff. I think that'll be sweet. It just feels really like New Orleans Mardi Gras-esque to me.
Voodoo culture.
Yeah, I'm excited to do that there. And the cemetery, like, I know it's not really Mardi Gras things, they're more so like New Orleans.
I was just gonna say, I'm more excited for like New Orleans as a whole and like just seeing everything. Like Mardi Gras is, like I'm excited for Mardi Gras, but it's just kind of like not the main purpose of like what I want to see and do.
I agree, it's a bonus. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of like culture and history and just stuff like that we're not gonna have the experience to see anywhere else.
I think I'm really excited for the balance of our trip, like the partying, the event spectacle aspects mixed with like the history and the learning and stuff. I think it'll be a nice combo.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have a purpose when you go out at night, as opposed to just like it's nice to go out and just have a nice dinner, but it's also nice to have like a purpose where you're going, where you know people are going to be and stuff like that.
Sure, it's true. It's
People watching. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people watching happening.
Yes, it's like the best part about any of
some
it.
of the food and the drinks and stuff, like the full New Orleans cultural experience. Absolutely.
So you guys all had similar expectations for the trip, but were excited about different things. Had you been planning in advance for a while? How did you guys manage to get on the same page about what you wanted to see and do while you were in New Orleans?
Yeah, that's a great question. Jordan and I really spearheaded the entire planning aspect of the trip. And it's kind of cool how the trip kind of came to be, because before I headed down to Atlanta, I was like, hey, Mardi Gras in February would be really fun. And she was kind of like, yeah, that would be fun. And I was like, okay, cool. Think about it. And then we started emailing back and forth, and she's like, I'm actually serious. I'd actually really love to do that. And then she decided that she did want to come down, and then she was having a girls' night with Nora, and Nora's like, that sounds really fun. I'd love to come too. And then decided to ask Justine as well, and she was interested. So that's kind of how that started. And then it just kind of seemed like Jordan and I kind of were in correspondence the whole time, and we sort of planned out things we wanted to do, and then we'd send so we would narrow down ideas, and then we'd send ideas to Justine and Nora. And it's kind of funny because they were just very agreeable about almost everything. It was like, yeah, cemetery tour, we're down for that. Yeah, cool, we're into that. And that's kind of just how we planned. It was a lot about Jordan and I going through different tour companies, going through different options, reading different websites and blogs about things to do in New Orleans, talking between the two of us about what we thought would work for our trip, and then sending it to Nora and Justine. And I actually think that's a really interesting way to plan a trip with a group of girls, because if we had sent this massive list of all the things that we could do, it could have been a lot harder to get some solid stuff in place, I think.
And you guys mentioned that not only being excited to go see Mardi Gras, but wanting to see New Orleans. And it's something we've experienced going to Carnival in Rio and Running of the Bulls in Pamplona. When you're going to this big, super duper event, it's kind of hard to balance out seeing the city and seeing and experiencing the event. Mm-hmm. How did you guys go about trying to find that balance?
So I think it was a lot in the planning of what we did. We planned for the Monday to be a day away from the city of New Orleans. So we planned the things that were outside of the city all in one go. So
why was that?
We just thought that it would be nice. We were getting there Saturday afternoon and have Saturday night out. All day Sunday was sort of Mardi Gras, going out that night. And then Tuesday is really Mardi Gras day, Fat Tuesday. So we thought Monday would be a nice way to sort of break it up and not tire ourselves out of this, getting dressed up, being around all these people, doing excessive amounts of drinking, and that it'd be a nice break, and that we'd sort of be excited to get back into the city and celebrate Fat Tuesday.
And so you guys checked in again on Monday after 2 days in New Orleans. during your car trip out to the bayou to do a crocodile hunting excursion?
There's no crocodiles in the bayou, but yes, alligator excursion.
Not alligator hunting either.
No. We didn't hunt any alligators, but, not to spoil it or anything. Okay, on to the car.
Okay, so it's Monday. It's like 11 a.m. and we've had 2 nights of Mardi Gras so far. What are your girls' thoughts so far?
The first night, we went straight to the French Quarter and straight to Bourbon Street and kind of fell into a parade, which was really cool. It was a great way to kick off our experience, seeing that right off the top. And then it was totally overwhelming. We made the mistake of walking down Bourbon Street to a bar that was on kind of the other end of Bourbon Street.
I don't know if we made the mistake so much as just followed people into a bad idea.
Yes, we were with some gentlemen that we met from DC, and they had been here before, and they were the ones who suggested the bar, and we were really excited to go with them, and ended up like in a crush of people on Bourbon Street.
Like mosh pit.
Yeah, so people almost like got in a fight too, which was a little bit scary when you literally can't move yourself out of the way.
But we survived, and we got to the bar.
Survived less one camera. That's okay.
Nora's camera got pickpocketed.
Yeah,
it was unfortunate.
It's interesting because you read so much stuff about how you need to protect your stuff, and I feel like we were all pretty cautious, but then still things happen.
I literally had my purse in front of me the entire time and my hand on it.
I couldn't even by the time I got pulled into it, I couldn't even reach around to grab it. My body was just like pinned. Even if I seen somebody going into my purse, I could have defended it. But I could just watch it happen.
Yeah, that was
pretty tight. But I don't know.
Once we got to the bar, though, we had a really nice time. It was it's funny the kind of dichotomy between the bars and Bourbon Street, because Bourbon Street's so crazy and it's crush people, and then you go into these bars and it's pretty it's calm. It's a regular bar on a Saturday night in any of the cities that we're from.
So you're there, it's your first night, and Nora's camera got stolen.
Yeah, so we went for dinner in the Garden District, and it was super quiet over there. It's sort of west of Canal Street, and the French Quarter is entirely east of Canal Street. And the restaurant that we went and got food at was actually hey, you girls know there's a festival in town, right? Why aren't you out there? And we're yeah, we know, we just got into town, we need to eat though. So we ate, and then we headed straight to the French Quarter, ended up catching a parade on the way, which was pretty cool.
What do you mean? What does that mean, catching a parade?
We just saw it going down St. Charles. So the majority of the parades run down St. Charles Avenue. It's kind of a main area, so kind of hit Canal Street, and we're oh, there's a parade going on, so we stopped to catch some beads. And
so what is required to catch beads?
Not showing any skin. Yeah, good question. Like to clarify that for people when I put the photo of how many beads we got on the show notes. Yeah, I didn't see I think I saw one girl show boobs the entire time. I think it's actually, Nora was saying that it's actually against the law to show yourself naked.
It's against the law to do a lot of things.
Yeah, but it's just not really kosher, I guess, either. It's kind of a family affair, so it'd be really inappropriate to do that. There's people from 5 years old to 80 years old that are kind of hanging out there, so all different age groups, walks of life, that sort of thing. And so basically we just stood on a street corner as the floats come by, put your hands up, you kind of yell a little bit, they just throw beads. It's actually really dangerous. The beads come really fast, and I was getting really overwhelmed at points, and I got some cuts on my hands from them just missing me. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. One little frisbee thing pegged me in the head at one point. It's very intense. My hands are hurting from catching so many beads.
And how big are the parades, and what type of floats are in them?
That's a great question. They take hours. We were kind of concerned about, the timing of them. It's okay, parade X starts at, 4:30, so we've missed it. And, it's 7:30, 8 o'clock, and the parade's still going. They take hours and hours and hours. On the last day we were there, on Fat Tuesday, this crew called Zulu, which is one of the biggest ones, started at 8 a.m. and it went till 2, 3 maybe.
Really?
Just ages. And so all of them are different. It depends on like different crews have different lengths, and the bigger crews have more fancy floats, but they have all these different themes and that sort of thing. So I saw a Star Wars one, which I sent you a photo of. Lots of different ones, like whales, Chinese New Year style ones, like dragons, tropical, like anything you can imagine is sort of a float. Like I saw one that looks like the Christmas train in Canada. And that was really long and cool. And there's just people on there with masks and costumes throwing beads down at you who are part of like that crew.
And then when Nora realized her camera was stolen, did it shake you guys up at all?
A little bit. It's interesting for me because I've traveled so much, and it's, you know, one thing that I know to be really cautious of. And we just had this moment where we just got caught up really, really fast. And we watched the parade for a while. And then as we were walking, this group of guys were kind of like, hey, you want some beads? And then we just started talking to them. They were like 4 older guys from DC and I think some other areas of the United States. And we chatted with them for a while, and then they're like, oh, come with us. We know like a cool bar down Bourbon Street. And we were like, okay, yeah, cool. So we're walking down Bourbon Street, and it went from like busy to like mosh pit style. And it just happened really fast. And like, as we went in, I was like, ladies, like grab your purses, keep them at the front of you. So I don't know, like Jordana, Justine, and I all had ours at the front. And I think Nora only had her camera in hers because she'd separated all of her stuff, which is really smart. And I think it was like by her side, but the crowd just got so crazy so fast that it like whipped her purse behind her and she couldn't get at it. And we were kind of all separated. Like there was 8 of us with these guys included, and we kind of were all separated. Like at one point I got out of the crowd and I was completely by myself. I'd lost everyone. And then all of a sudden like 2 of the guys and Justine popped up. So it was kind of a scary sort of situation to like not know anyone. And there's like a mosh pit. You like finally get up at the curb, and there's like a bunch of people are kind of like yelling at you and that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, Nora was pretty shaken up about her camera, and I think it was kind of this like sort of reality check for the rest of us. Like, okay, this like watch your bag thing is like an actual concern. Like we actually need to be careful here. So I think like a good learning to definitely take away from it. And, you know, there's nothing we can do about the camera. It's gone now. So the only thing you can do is learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I'm trying to remember what we did yesterday. We toured around New Orleans a little bit. We got our
Jackson Square. Got our
tarot cards read. Any comments on that from you ladies?
I really enjoyed listening to everybody's reading, just knowing you all as I do. And I felt like she actually like read, I don't know if it was body language or what she picked up on, but she really seemed to get you guys. It was cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, we're all in similar stages in our life, and we all have a lot of the same personality traits, but she picked up a lot of the differences, and like none of us could have had each other's readings, which was really interesting.
And I like too that she's straight up said, I'm not going to bullshit at reading, like I'm going to tell you what the cards say, and if they're right kind of thing. And I appreciated that. Like she didn't try and make Jeff, Nora's boyfriend, ginger when she said he was tall, like when she said he was dark and he wasn't. She didn't like try and correct herself, so I liked that.
She seemed like really knowledgeable and like knew a lot of background. Like she was very intelligent sounding.
Yeah,
when she spoke. She spoke well.
And yeah, I thought it was cool. Like, although Joanna's going to be a spinster forever, it was kind of sweet that we all kind of had like a love line in our pyramid. Like all the cards in the one row were about love, except for Jordana, which unfortunate for the spinster, but kind of cool to show that like your cards are so unique to you.
Well, not too impressed with the devil and death and the fool coming with my first 3 cards, but you know, just set the tone. I think once I saw those 3 cards, I was like, oh, here we go.
I was a bit nervous as well. I was like, oh god, is this taking a turn for the worst?
Nora legitimately had 3 like black looking morbid cards come up the
like,
first 3.
Yeah, just like
and
not
it never
ideal.
really got better. Just kind of a strange little reading. I'm not sure how I felt about my reading, but I really enjoyed watching or listening to all of yours.
Yeah, I think we would highly recommend that experience. Just with the voodoo culture and stuff in New Orleans, it was a fun thing to do, and yeah, it was great.
If anyone wants to go check that out, lady with blue dreads, you can't miss her.
Her name's JT.
Yeah, she's pretty sweet.
So when we went through New Orleans the first time, and we walked through Jackson Square, we saw all these mystic types. And you were like, ooh, I could do that. So were you excited to go back with friends to try some
mystical activities? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not like hugely into the whole like psychic powers thing, but I find it like kind of a curious thing, kind of intrigued by it. Jordan and I had actually done tarot cards before, which is kind of cool since neither of us have done it since then. And that was like late December of 2013. So it's been a couple years. And
so how did your 2013 tarot card checkup, what were the figures on that? 40% correct? 30% correct?
She was actually like bang on. Like everything she pulled with my cards is about new beginnings, change, like good things coming. And it was right before we left for South America. So I don't know. I mean, say what you will about that, but it's an interesting experience. And I mean, I think you need to take those things with a grain of salt, but it's kind of interesting, the things that came up for me again. So kind of like intrigued by it, but it's basically, she had 3 decks of cards. She was like, pick one that feels good for you and then shuffle it around, really get your energy into it. And then once your energy's in it, then she deals it out. Ryan's rolling his eyes right now. He just does not buy into any of this, and that's totally fine. You don't have to. I mean, I paid $10 for it, and I think it was a fun activity to do.
It's impressive that whoever can make their living off of it, they find that impressive, and their skills at reading body language and playing people's confirmation biases against them. But
I love your opinions. They're hilarious.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
But not convincing.
I'm not too sure about that.
And after that, we went back to our bed and breakfast briefly. And then we went out for, I think, one of the best meals and experiences that we've had. It would be a top 10 for me for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Although the experience was like, we booked a reservation at this restaurant that we had heard was nice, and we show up in like Mardi Gras get up, and it's like fancy, like nice wine glasses on the table, like the hostess drapes our napkins over us, and I was like, oh yeah, don't mind my tutu.
I was expecting them to sort of like treat us with kind of like a cold, like, I don't know, demeanor, and kind of just put us in the corner, but they were just so lovely and friendly to us, considering we were looking a little ridiculous for the setting. But
yeah, food was amazing, like probably the best food I've ever had, or else top of the list for sure.
What was it? Emeralds?
It was Emeralds Del Monaco, and it was a Creole inspired restaurant, so we all had like some Louisiana favorites. We tried fried and baked oysters,
crabby,
we had some great Louisiana crab, cornbread,
yeah, a shrimp.
Justine had a chicken breast.
It's unfortunate when you don't eat seafood when you're in Louisiana.
Yeah,
your chicken breast was delicious though, right?
it was amazing.
Yeah, it was cool too because we were right on St. Charles where the Bacchus parade was going by, which is one of the bigger parades for Mardi Gras. We had like pretty perfect view away from the mayhem, and then we're able to join the mayhem after.
Yeah, like the fact that our server took such a shine to us, and then
some limoncello shots.
yeah, free limoncello, and then like let us watch the parade with them on the step was awesome. Like when their friend came by, that was a pretty cool experience on the whale float.
Yeah, the chef's hats were a nice touch. It definitely felt part of the group.
Yeah,
just pulled us in.
It felt like it was a very like authentic New Orleans experience. Like it felt like it was not that touristy. Like it felt like we were with the locals and really experiencing what Mardi Gras is to them.
Yeah, which is super cool. I'm surprised by how much my hands hurt from catching beads. Like, it's pretty, like, it's almost dangerous.
Especially when you catch a bag of them.
Oh, yeah.
That comes hot.
They whip those beads. And, like, there's little kids, like, on parents' shoulders, like, stretching out for these beads, and they are not throwing them lightly. Like, you have to be very aware.
Yeah, my hands didn't hurt the first night when we were catching beads, but they hurt last night, and I had gloves on last night, so I don't know.
I think the beads, some of those beads from that one float were a lot bigger. Like, I caught them, it was just like, ow, I don't even want any more. But otherwise you get, like, pegged in the face with them.
Yeah, if you're not like defending yourself.
And then we were pretty tired last night and didn't really know if we were going to be able to go out, so we wanted to go to Pat O'Brien's, which is the famous invention of the hurricane where it happened, and probably the most famous New Orleans bar. And we walked. It took us a while to get there because we had to kind of follow that parade around.
Yeah, we literally got trapped by a parade twice yesterday.
We did,
Yeah,
trapped
Like,
by
kind of
parades.
like a fishnet. We're just like surrounded.
It's an interesting thing that I didn't think about at all is that you kind of do have to plan your day around the parades because
Absolutely.
you actually can't cross at certain streets while the parades are going by. It's like we must have been detoured like at least 40 minutes of walking yesterday thanks to those two parades.
Yeah, we lucked out last night finding that opening and crossing, but like yesterday afternoon was terrible and we all just wanted to get home too, so that was not a fun experience having to dodge a parade. But yeah, I guess we'll know that for the next time.
So following dinner at Emerald's Delmonico in the Garden District area, we made our way down to the French Quarter to go to Pat O'Brien's, which is a super famous bar in the French Quarter. And we tried to go to it on the Saturday night when we first arrived after the chaos down Bourbon Street. But the line was so massive and we couldn't get in. So we decided to try a second time. And the reason that Pat O'Brien's is so famous is because it's where the drink, the hurricane, was invented, which is kind of what people know of what to drink in New Orleans.
And what is a hurricane?
A hurricane is a rum punch. It is very, very strong. So you drink a couple hurricanes and you're pretty gone.
So, but like, what's in it?
A couple different types of liqueur and then rum and then a little bit of like juice.
It's kind of like Caribou Lou.
Yeah, it's got some side effects similar to Caribou Lou. Extremely alcoholic beverage.
Pat O'Brien's was pretty cool though once we got there.
Yeah, like it had like its own
Courtyard?
Yeah, like you guys said, like it was like its own world. Like you walked into this bar and it wasn't just like a bar. There was like your
It's like
bar
an amusement
rail
park for adults.
Yeah, like there was like your bar rail where you could sit and have drinks. And there was like a back courtyard where it was like stand-up tables and sit-down tables with heaters, and that was awesome. And then there was the piano bar where we spent most of our evening.
We had a great time at that piano bar. It totally was what we wanted. It was like,
I'm surprised I can still talk this morning. 'Cause
Yeah.
we were screaming. Like my throat was like ragged.
Yeah, me too. When I swallowed this morning, I was like, oh, I can like swallow without pain. I'm surprised by that.
we had a really good time, but we were responsible so that we could get up early this morning and feel good for the Bayou today.
Yeah, so we're currently in the car. We're about 5 minutes away from our Bayou Tour. I'm looking forward to seeing some alligators, hopefully.
No, it's winter, so we may not see them, but I'm hopeful. And I just hope the tour guide's really good. I hope we learn a lot about like the ecosystem and stuff there.
I think we will. I have faith.
As long as it's not too windy.
Yes. One thing I took from last night though, that like everyone just being so friendly, so many smiles, and like when you give people your beads, you just like make their life. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like a
no,
lot,
that's
like-
true. Like giving a set of beads to a couple and them just being like, oh my god, actually, like it's beads, go ahead.
I think it's interesting, like, well, I'm not 100% sure on this, but what he was talking about, like, we throw the beads at the gorilla to give the gorilla luck, and then I guess some big kids catching beads, like, how much luck you're gonna have for the year, is that kind of like the tradition to it?
I don't know. We'll have to look it up, but it seems like it would make sense because for Bacchus, the gorilla came first, and our waiter told us you throw beads at the gorilla, and it's kind of like good luck for the parade or good luck in general.
I think one thing that we can all say, like our impression, like Southern hospitality is a very real thing. We've had people help us and like be sweet to us, and constantly, like it's been constant that people have been coming up to us and offering us advice, and every person that we leave, every shopkeeper tells us to be careful. Like it's a really, really sweet.
Like, I haven't had a negative impression from anybody that we've had to deal with.
No.
And I've never felt unsafe.
No, I agree.
Like, walking through Bourbon Street the first night was, it was a little bit hectic, but like, I never felt like in fear that I could be injured or that I, for my life or anything like that. Like, it's a busy street. Just gotta keep moving.
Even when the camera was stolen, I was like, well, like, I kind of, like, I put myself in this situation, like, I would say I deserved it, but, like, you get what you get, right? Like, I didn't feel like it was, like, malicious that someone stole it. It was just kind of like, that's what they do. It was just kind of unavoidable, but...
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Any other thoughts before we get to the bayou?
I think we're just excited, ready for the day, excited to go to Frenchman Street tonight and hear some jazz.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm also kind of just blown away that we're driving around bridges all the time. Like, these freeways are all just... I don't know, just like being in the swamp in general. Like, we're just surrounded by...
Water. It's water and swamp, yeah. It's pretty cool.
So we left off, you guys were in the car on the way to the bayou.
Yep.
And now, through the magic of podcasting, we're going to jump ahead and hear how your experiences were there.
Yes, we are.
But to catch up from our adventures on Monday, we went on a Bayou Tour, followed by a visit to Oak Alley Plantation, which was pretty cool. What did you guys think of that?
Oak Alley was really, really great. It was one of the most stunning places that I've ever been, for sure. We had a meal there, and it was also one of the top meals I've ever had. Plus, like, in the trip, we all tried gumbo and some praline cheesecake, which was great. The tour itself was really interesting and informative. It's interesting because there's really, like, two spaces in Oak Alley. There's the actual plantation big house, then there's a slavery exhibit, and the slavery exhibit was really interesting. It was cool they didn't sugarcoat it. Like, they were very honest about the treatment of slaves at that property at the time, and it was nice to see that they didn't try and hide from some of the ugly realities, I guess.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the old trees there. Like, all these big oak trees are just fantastic. I feel like they were just, like, soaked in history in a weird way. Like, they just, I don't know, they're so beautiful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, if those trees could talk, they would have probably the craziest stories.
Just all the people coming in or up and down that lane.
Yeah.
The family drama. There was quite a bit of drama in the family. It sounded, the people that lived there didn't really have a happy ending.
That's true. The Bayou Tour was really cool as well.
I think we really lucked out with our boat, because I don't think too many tour guides happen to have a little alligator in their cooler in the back that you have to whip out. So,
Like, here's my pet alligator that I keep at home.
and, like, you didn't start the tour with this knowledge. Like, you got on there, listened to all the stories, etc., etc., and then what do you know? Here's an alligator. So,
He was like the most southern redneck person I've ever encountered. Like, obviously, we wouldn't be, like, around people like that, but he just, like, fulfilled every southern redneck cliche that there's out there. Like,
except for the really big beard. He had a nice mustache, but...
true, yeah. He was like, he was crazy. He's like kissing the alligator when he brought it out.
Like, before he taped his mouth shut.
Yeah, that was a little bit strange. It seemed like he liked his pet alligators more than he liked his actual children.
Did he have children? And then...
He has a grandson.
Oh, yeah, he must.
But yeah, that was awesome. Just nice to bit of a get a break from New Orleans, Mardi Gras. It was nice to get out of the city for a bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
A little breath of fresh air before we jumped back in, full steam ahead. Mardi Gras.
Did we ever?
And so Mardi Gras builds up towards Fat Tuesday, which is kind of the climax of the partying.
Yeah, definitely.
And what is Fat Tuesday?
Fat Tuesday is they call it Mardi Gras Day, and it's the last day before Ash Wednesday. And Ash Wednesday is part of the Catholic religion, and it's the first day of Lent. So it's a day where people who participate in the Catholic religion give something up for 40 days. And so it's kind of like this big, I don't know, this big party happens on the Tuesday, and then right at midnight that night, it's like, get off the street, clear everything up, like the party's over, like get out of the bars, like it is Ash Wednesday now, it's time to repent your sins. So I feel like it's, you know, Mardi Gras goes through January, builds up into February, and then Fat Tuesday will always fall on the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. And throughout the time that we were there, people kept telling us it was going to be the busiest day of Mardi Gras, and that there was going to be a ton more people there, and there definitely was a ton more people. You know, 8 rows deep, waiting for a parade, full-on campers with families and massive barbecues, and everyone's sharing food. And
this is just in like all these neighborhoods all over the city.
Yeah, all around the parade routes. So anywhere that the parades are going, people will be. And Zulu's one of the most famous crews, and they are famous because they throw coconuts. And they actually can't throw the coconuts anymore because
full coconuts. They
used to, but people got hit in the head and obviously injured. So now they have to just yeah. So now they have to just like hand them down, but they're usually carved with stuff. So that's kind of a thing that people get up early. They be there. They have their spot ready, like really early in the morning. Zulu starts at 8 a.m. So
they want some coconuts.
Yeah, they want their coconuts. So, and then yeah, Fat Tuesday just goes throughout the whole day, just a big party. And we saw way more people dressed up. It was almost like Halloween, but really festive. None of the like demonic, bloody sort of costumes. Everything's really happy, sort of Alice in Wonderland, kind of psychedelic color feel.
And you guys did a check-in on Tuesday morning before you went out.
We sure did.
So it's Tuesday, I guess, yeah, still morning. It's Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras Day. Are you guys excited?
Mm-hmm. Super stoked.
What are you most excited for?
People watching. I think we're just going to have a lot of laughs and run into some fun people.
Parades. After last night's parade, I have a newfound...
You were jacked last night.
Love and respect. I was so happy last night. Those floats were absurd.
It's funny because you were the one person who didn't really want to go.
Well, it wasn't that I didn't want to go to the parade. I didn't really want to go hang out with the dudes from the restaurant, Francisco.
Yeah, so our waiter at, what is it called? The Emeralds
Delmonico.
Yeah, the restaurant that we went to where we were way too underdressed for. He ended up finding me on Instagram and then messaging me, inviting us to come have tequila and crawfish.
The best tequila.
Yeah, the best tequila. So we promised him a shout out. So thank you, Francisco, for your amazing hospitality to us. We had a really cool spot, like right by the side of the road, where we watched Orpheus come by.
The crawfish really made it for me. I feel like just never would have done that on my own at any point. And just being like welcomed into that and taught how to crack open the... I'm saying it right? Crayfish, yeah. Crawfish?
It's crawfish.
Yeah, crawfish.
Learning how to crack them open, failing miserably a few times and getting better at it. It was good. It was fun.
No, it was just awesome. Like, we got there, instantly had, like, these Purple Haze beers in our house, just like a New Orleans beer. And then, like, every 20 minutes he came around with this bottle of amazing tequila and we did shots. And all this is happening while the parade's going by. And we're meeting all these locals, and they bust out, like, these 2 big bins of crawfish, and we're eating crawfish on the street in New Orleans while watching Orpheus. It was really cool.
Yeah, kind of feeling like locals instead of, like, Canadian girls, eh?
Yeah, and then we went to Frenchman Street and saw some jazz, which was really cool.
Yes, I was very impressed with the range of voices that we heard. Like,
yeah.
So many characters, like...
And in one band.
Yeah, and it's neat because everyone can kind of just, like, switch off doing something. Like, they're like a jack of all trades instead of just like, this is the instrument I play and that's all I do.
Yeah. And I'm really excited for today, like, just to start early and see Fat Tuesday, because I can't imagine, like, people keep saying, like, you've seen nothing until you've seen Fat Tuesday, and I can't fathom that it'll be any more people, any more of a spectacle than it's already seen.
Yeah, it's crazy because I kind of felt like after Saturday night, that might have been, like, the biggest night, and then people are like, no, it just gets crazier. And this is like, I don't know, I guess kind of like the peak to it. But yeah, it should be good. I'm tired, but I'm excited.
We're looking forward to it.
So once Fat Tuesday was over, Wednesday rolled around, and you guys packed up your things and headed back to A-Town.
Yes, we packed up our stuff, and we did a cemetery tour on the way out of town, and then made our way back to Atlanta.
And in the car, you check in and recap Fat Tuesday.
Yes, we do.
So we're currently on the I-10 East, headed back to Atlanta. We had quite the adventure yesterday. Yesterday was Fat Tuesday, which is kind of like Mardi Gras Day. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about our Fat Tuesday experiences.
Well, first, I think our first impression is just, oh my god, people. There were so many people, and I thought that we'd seen crowds. Like, I was sure that we'd seen tons of people in the streets and stuff. But it was nothing compared to Fat Tuesday. Like, typically when we watch parades, there was like 2 rows of people. Fat Tuesday was like 7 rows or 8 rows of people back. And it was like not
Barbecues and campers.
Yeah, like people were there for a full featured day. Like they brought everything in their kitchen sink essentially to watch these parades on the street.
Yeah.
Once again got cut off by another parade trying to make our way to the French Quarter.
Yeah, we really didn't learn our lesson with that.
And just like the absurd outfits. Like we were walking at one point in time, and I was drowned, and there wasn't a ton of people that were super dressed up at that point, but like I looked next to me and there was this lady wearing a rainbow wig, and I didn't even like blink when I saw it. It wasn't like I just was like, oh, like I'm totally comfortable with the fact that there's someone walking next to me in a rainbow wig. Like that's not weird today. And it just kind of, the costumes were crazy. Which was compared it to Pan Am from the Hunger Games, the Capitol. Oh, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty accurate. Like, I was surprised that the costumes were so full on. Like, I thought that there'd be lots of people dressed in, like, the Mardi Gras colors the way we were. But it seems like local groups of friends get together and pick a theme that's really colorful and all do it, or something like that.
Yeah, I saw lots of Alice in Wonderland and lots of Wizard of Oz. Like, it seemed like very mythical type stuff. Green.
But you know, there's the good old ketchup bottles, and, giraffes, and
Selfie stick guy.
it's not Andy from Toy Story.
Nice.
Somebody was dressed as a dandelion. It was really cool. They had like a helmet full of like, I don't know, sticks with these little fuzzies on the end. I kind of want to try to make it myself.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. It's almost like Halloween, hey?
It is totally like Halloween, like a bright, colorful, cheery version of Halloween. It's
Yeah.
just such good vibes, like just such a good spirit in the city and stuff. And we saw to my knowledge, we saw nobody misbehaving yesterday. Everyone just seemed to be out having a good time.
Very easy to like talk to anybody about anything. You just jump in a conversation.
We encountered a not so nice cab driver on the ride home as well.
Yeah.
But
He was the first not nice person that we met though in New Orleans. Everyone else was spectacularly kind and helpful and lovely.
based on my experiences in the South in general, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like the only person you guys encounter who's not nice on your whole trip.
He's like the one that like everyone that warns you against like why you shouldn't be on the streets at a certain hour. Like there's that one personality type that all those warnings come from. But I'm not surprised we ran into one, but
Yeah, he was a dick.
Way to just play it straight.
So what happened with this mean cab driver fellow?
So we just grabbed a cab from the side of the road. I'm a big fan of Uber in the United States, but
Shut up. Uber.
everyone knows about Uber, according to Ryan. Anyways, Uber was really, really challenging with Mardi Gras. It's every time I went on my Uber app, it said, you need to walk further away from the parade route, regardless of where I was. And then it would take a really long time to try to get through. But there was a lot of cabs. So I went up to a cab driver. We needed to get home. Justine was sick and not feeling well. And he didn't really like know where the Garden District was, which is kind of strange because it's a pretty main area within like the central part of New Orleans. And I kind of got a bad vibe from him, but I'd had a few hurricanes at this point, and so I didn't really like listen to my intuition.
I mean, he's a taxi driver, but
yeah,
you don't get many good vibes from taxi drivers.
This was like a particularly bad vibe. Anyways, we got in the car and I was in the very back, and I remember looking up at one point and seeing the meter like just blinking, and I was like, that's strange. And like everything I know from traveling says, if the meter's not going and a price hasn't been decided, this isn't going to work out well. But I'm in the back. There's like not much I can do. I'm like, okay, maybe Nora's negotiated a price up front. Like, I don't really know what's going on. And then we get there and we're like, oh, like, sir, how much is it going to be? And he goes $40 for something that should be about $15. And I was kind of just like going to pay it because I don't really like conflicts like that. And I was like, money's not really worth it. But the girls were like, we are not paying that. He locked the doors so we couldn't get out. And Justine's like, I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick. Like, let us out of the car. And he's like, I'm not letting him out. And I jumped in the front seat and I was like, sir, my friend's going to be sick. Like, you got to let him out. Got to let her out. And I handed him my debit card as this like way to be like, we're not going to leave without my card or whatever. So he lets us out after we give him $20. So I hand him $20. He has my card. He lets us out because he thinks Justine's going to be sick. And then he's like, okay, you're out. Like, where's the rest of my money? And we're basically like, we're not paying you. And so he gets on the phone. He's like, I'm calling the police. And he's like saying this stuff into the phone. Like, these girls are ripping me off. They're not paying their cab fare. And we'd been told that, if something happens, police take a really long time in New Orleans, and it's about 3 hours wait time for police officers during Mardi Gras. And so we're all like, there's no way you're talking to the police right now. He's like taking photos of us, and Nora's like, I'm going to take photos of your stuff too. And she's taking photos of his license and like all this stuff. And he's snapping photos of us. And it was basically the standoff of like us on the street and him standing outside of his car. And then he just like took off. So lost my debit card in that, but that's my own bad because that was a very dumb idea to just give that to him, but made sense post hurricanes. So that was that experience. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a frustrating experience, and it's definitely it's interesting because when you're especially traveling in South America, virtually like any cab you would get in, they would try to scam you.
Oh yeah.
So
my gut instinct when I saw that was like, this isn't going to work out well.
You have like here, you kind of have some expectation of like, oh, everyone's going to be kind of honest. Whereas,
yeah, it's like the
so many
United
times,
States.
like in South America, you get in the cab and when you've agreed on a price and they're like, oh, actually that's per person. And you're like, excuse me.
Yeah, it's so true. But yeah, good learning for anyone who's planning to go to New Orleans in general, but especially during Mardi Gras time. And I mean, traveling in general, I'd say don't get in a cab unless you've either agreed on the meter or you've agreed on a price. I think that's a pretty like standard rule to follow, just not to avoid that situation because, he's already provided the service and now he wants to get paid. Yes, I get that. But, it's this like, we're not going to pay $40 for driving us like 2 miles.
No, yeah. I mean, he thinks he has leverage and he's trying to get money out of you.
Yeah. And I mean, there was a moment where I was kind of like, it's a bit scary. Like, what if he has a weapon or something like that? Like, I would advise people to really try not to get in that situation because I think that it could work out really badly. Mm-hmm. We were lucky that it was fine. He just drove away. There's nothing he can do with my debit card. So all is well. But another good like takeaway for us for sure. So we're going to continue by wrapping up our thoughts on the entire Mardi Gras experience.
Fantastic. Want to do it again sometime?
Yeah, it was awesome. I had so much fun, and like, I don't know, a trip like this, you kind of think there's going to be a lot of partying, and there absolutely was, but I don't know, it was nice that you can enjoy the atmosphere at any time during the day, in the evening. You don't have to try and like stay out super late
very connected to society.
It's cool. Like, I think one of my favorite moments, like, of the whole trip is just watching everyone from, like, 4-year-old children to, like, 80-year-old men scrambling for beads. Like, it was just this awesome humanizing thing where everyone was shouting and cheering and just being excited and happy. And yeah, like yesterday when we were at Jackson Square and we just like joined in on a giant whip and nay dance and like I started skipping rope in the middle of the square. Like, it just was cool, like good vibes everywhere, kind of. Everyone you met was in a good mood. Everyone was being a little bit ridiculous and kind of like channeling that inner child in all of us. So it was awesome. Definitely will go back.
Yeah, I would agree with all of those comments. I feel like you guys described that really, really well.
I'd like to like share it with more people. Like, I loved our group. Like, I love our group. I think we had the best time. But I also like bring more people into it because I just feel like everyone should do at least one Mardi Gras. Like, that's in line. That's the real thing. Everyone should do one.
Yeah. Any other like final comments on New Orleans?
Mardi Gras 2017. Can't wait to go back.
So now it's a week since you've been back from Mardi Gras, and you've had a little bit of time to digest the experience.
Mm-hmm.
What stands out for you from Mardi Gras?
I think Fat Tuesday for sure. It was a really incredible experience, and I'm really glad that we decided to stay for Fat Tuesday. Just everyone being colorful and dressed up and really happy, kind of like we were talking about in the last excerpt from the trip. It's just, I don't know, it's just a really fun atmosphere. And the whole city was sort of just gleeful and happy and dancing around, and people were singing in the streets, and everyone just seemed to be really happy, which was really cool. So I think that Fat Tuesday was a highlight for sure.
Everyone seemed to be really happy / drunk, or was just only happy?
I mean, I think that there was definitely alcohol involved. It wasn't like the type of like happy drunk where people are sloshing all over the place and vomiting everywhere. And it just seemed like there was a lot of genuine happiness. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the people, especially locals, weren't really even drinking.
And so for any of the listeners who are considering adding Mardi Gras to their bucket list, what advice do you have?
Definitely add it. It's a really cool experience. Find a good group to go with.
Do you think going in a group of people?
Yeah, I think having gone in a group of people, I think that was really good. Like even having some guy friends come down with us, I think would have been really cool. And plan breaks in for yourself. I think like plan other things to do, because Mardi Gras can be really exhausting. And just go and have fun and be willing to dress silly and just really enjoy yourself. I think those are my biggest pieces of advice.
Awesome.
Yeah, so there'll be show notes at www.theworldwanderers.com. You can always join the community on Facebook, The World Wanderers, or follow us on Twitter. And if you have any questions or comments, or you want to reach out to us or ask a more specific Mardi Gras question, you can send us an email at info@theworldwanderers.com. And as always, thanks for listening.
Until next time.